Welcome to the Chamber Neighbors Podcast, a show highlighting Chapin's community and commerce. Now here's your hosts, Greater Chapin Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Paul Sadler, and Chapin Neighbors Magazine's Daniel Rendelman.
This is Daniel Rendelman with Chapin Neighbors.
And this is Paul Sadler with the Greater Chapin Chamber of Commerce.
And Paul, who are we talking to today?
Daniel, we've got a treat today. We've got my friend and buddy, Joe Polek, with 92.1 His Radio. Joe, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Looking forward to being here.
Awesome. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us,
who is Joe?
Who is Joe?
Who is
exactly.
Joe? Well, my wife and two daughters and my dog, of course, you can't forget that. We live in Chapin. We've lived here. We've lived in South Carolina now for 11 years, been in Chapin for almost 6 years, and we love the area, and we love the lake. Mm-hmm. Love being near the lake. Lake Murray is one of the things that I love most about this area.
That's a huge draw for a lot of people who move here. So you moved here 6 years ago. Is that right? 6 years ago. We get calls here at the Chamber all the time about moving here, and one of the main reasons was the lake. So we're glad to have you here in Chapin, Joe.
And when you arrived, did you just cut on the radio and say, "Hey, I want to be a radio guy," or what happened there?
Well, I started in radio right out of college, and I moved to the great state of Maine. If you haven't been to Maine, it's a great place. It's a great place in the summer. It's hard to live the rest of the year.
What's the coldest it's been in Maine?
I made snow angels on my roof because I used to have to get on top of my roof to shovel it off so that it would not collapse.
We will not have that problem in Chapin, South Carolina.
No. So back in, 2012, we moved from Maine down to South Carolina for a job in radio. And then I got laid off about a year and a half later, and I moved to Bojangles and did marketing for Bojangles. Had a great time there. It's a great company.
It's bow time.
Yeah. And then last summer, His Radio 92.1 came calling and said, "We'd love for you to come work with us." And I said, I would love nothing more. And it's been awesome.
So did you use your radio voice in the drive-thru? Was that something that you did?
Hello, this is Joe Polek.
Yes.
No, I didn't. Thankfully, I didn't work inside the store. I did marketing for it, so I wasn't doing. But there was a couple days that I did work the drive-thru just so I could learn it.
Okay.
And it's you got to have fun with it.
Now, what do you like most about Chapin?
We love the area of Chapin. We love the community. Our neighbors are the greatest neighbors in the world. On our street, our kids play. Mm-hmm. It's very diverse. We love everything about our community. And like I said earlier, we love being near the lake.
You have a great radio voice.
He does. I think it's better than ours.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul has the face for radio.
Wait.
The face for radio.
Right.
But Joe, tell us about His Radio for our listeners here, and kind of what you do and what His Radio is all about.
His Radio 92.1 has been here in the Midlands for about 6 years. His Radio started in Greenville 40 years ago, and that's where the home base is for His Radio. And about 6 years ago or so, they bought the signal, 92.1 here in Columbia, and brought local Christian music back to the area that had missed it for a couple of years after another station went away. And so they were looking for someone to do local stuff in the Columbia, Chapin area. And so with 92.1 here, like I said, the base is in Greenville, but since I live here, we have another coworker, Jen, who lives in Chapin. They said, we want you guys to be our local connection to the community. We want you to be in Columbia and Chapin and Lexington and do the local events and go to the Blowfish game, go to the Fireflies games.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're really involved in a lot of the things that His Radio has a part of, right?
Yes, and that's what that kind of doing marketing and events for His Radio to promote 92.1 in this area is my job. Plus, I do middays on the air. So from my house in Chapin, I do my radio show.
So your studio is in the house.
Yes.
In Chapin.
Yes, which makes it difficult in the summertime when the kids are home from school. Yeah. It's not as quiet as it used to be.
I wonder when we're going to get invited to be on the radio.
I don't know. It could be soon.
Maybe soon.
It could be soon.
Special guest.
Now, when you mentioned Christian radio, is this like organ church music?
No, sir. This is CCM, contemporary Christian music. It is modern music a lot of it now, honestly, if you go to a modern church, my family goes to a Gateway Baptist Church here in the community, and a lot of the music that they sing on Sunday mornings, you hear on His Radio. And we also have a His Radio praise station, which is all praise and worship type music, and that's 106.3 here in the Chapin, Columbia area.
That's cool. I did not know about that praise channel until now. Very interesting. Joe, we talked a little bit about the radio life and all of that. What are you doing when you're not on the radio?
For work or play?
Ooh, let's say for play.
Okay. Like I said, I love the lake. We have 2 jet skis, and so I love taking the jet skis out on the lake. My family loves just going swimming and hanging out. We found a little grassy knoll that was free. I don't want to give my secret spot away.
Don't tell.
I don't want people to to know.
No. Tell us after.
But we do love. Was it last summer, I think? We went 7 weekends in a row to the lake with our neighbors and just packed a picnic lunch, went out and hung out. I mean, there's nothing like going out. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay. My dad sold boats for 40 years. So that was my life. So moving here, having Lake Murray here was just the perfect connection to what I grew up doing.
It is a gem. It is great to have that lake in our backyard for sure.
And with that, also, what else do you do with the radio station? So you're on the air in the midday, and you mentioned that you're at events. So you are technically the face of the radio station.
For this,
sounds like it.
Yeah, for this area. I try not to show my face too much. I have a face for radio too, right? But yes, I mean, in essence, I am the face of His Radio in the Columbia market. That was why I was brought on, because they wanted to have a local presence here. And so when there are concerts and events, we want to be a part of them, and not just Christian concerts and events. There is a reggae festival going on in another town, and His Radio is sponsoring that.
No way, Mom.
Really?
Because look,
that was good.
If we only reach out to the people who are already listening to us, is the station ever going to grow, or is the name of God ever going to grow? No. So we want to reach out to people in the community who love reggae music, and but guess what? We want to give them an opportunity to hear about God through His Radio. And maybe by being at that event, they see us, they meet us, and they maybe change their radio on their way home and discover something different that they've been looking for.
Is there any reggae Christian music?
I'm sure there is. Pretty much every format has some sort. I mean, my wife, she loves that rap. And there is a lot of Christian rap. There's whatever you wanted. I mean, I know you love Southern gospel music, Daniel. So there's all types of genres within the Christian music industry.
That's really cool.
So just, I guess a few weeks ago, I went out to see Chris Tomlin, for example, in the Lexington area. And hearing that music, watching the show, you would think you were at a rock concert. And yet I'm at a church, and there's lights, and there's smoke machines, and there's amazing music. And then realizing how that can affect people, where it seems that contemporary Christian music meets people where they are and their likes. You don't have to go back to the straight-laced organ style or so as well.
Yeah, I mean, this generation, obviously their musical likes and their tastes are different than generations past. And so if you want to meet this generation where they are, you have to adapt to what they like. And that's why Sunday mornings at church are different than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Some churches have different services, one that meets the older generation, one that meets the younger generation. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having different styles that meet the people where they are. But if you want to get the message of God out, you've got to meet people where they are and realize it's all about coming to them and not them coming to you.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think it's knowing your audience, right? And I think that goes in any aspect of business, whether you're doing radio or whether you're doing things like Daniel that you and I do. It's knowing your audience and knowing where they're at and really just talking to them on a level that they understand. So, Joe, can you just tell us maybe one thing that you wish people would know about your business, or something maybe that we don't know about.
And we're saying business, but is it nonprofit?
It is 100%. We are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Well, there you go. There's you just answered this question.
I mean, we've been his radio has been on the air for 40 years because of fundraising efforts.
There's listener supported.
Yes, it's when you listen, you may hear things that you think are commercials, but technically they're not commercials. They're underwriting thank yous. And so technically I can't have the Toyota dealership down the street air a commercial. We can say thank you to them for supporting his radio on the air. So there's a little difference in technicality, but most of all the money that we raise to keep us on the air comes from people who listen, and whether they're a business owner or just someone who listens and wants to give sacrificially through their personal finances. But we raise our money every year to keep us on the air through listeners.
Is that something that you do throughout the year, or do you have a special event through, once a year, twice a year?
So twice a year, we on the radio, we have a fundraiser that is called, it's just a fundraiser, but it's in the spring, it's a friend raiser, and in the fall, it's a share-a-thon. And basically all that is, it's like the old school telethon that you used to grow up with. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. We're inviting people to come on board and partner with us financially to help get the message of Jesus out in our community. That's what they're doing. And so, yes, they're helping to keep the lights on and the power bill on, but more importantly, when you invest in what God is doing through the ministry with your support, then you're helping to get that message out. And that's what we do on the air. But yes, it also happens all year round. When you come to an event, you're helping to support everything we're doing with those events and sponsorships, business sponsorships, things like that.
So the listeners are technically partners.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes, it sounds like that. So, what else would people maybe want to know about his radio?
Well, listen, his radio is a great opportunity. I love it for my family. It's a family station. Kids listen to it, parents listen to it, grandparents listen to it. It's music that reaches all generations. And it's also family friendly. Like when you're in the car with your kids, I know I've had it happen. You're driving down the road and all of a sudden the DJ says something and you're like, "Oh, quick, change that station." That's
pretty sure I did that yesterday.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
You were not listening to his radio.
That's right.
I was not.
Okay, I believe it's time to confess. No,
but you won't have to do that when you have his radio 92.1 on your radio. You will get it's safe for your family to listen to. It's something that's going to encourage you, and I love it because there's been times we've heard from people, they turn on the radio and the song meets them where they're at. And maybe they just lost a loved one, or maybe they're going through a divorce or something really difficult, and they're at the end of their rope. And yet they turn on the radio, and either through the words of the DJ or the words of the songs, those words God uses to meet them and touch them and say, hey, it's going to be okay. That's what you get from his radio that you don't get from other stations. Other stations are fun to listen to. Look, I like country music. I enjoy that kind. But you're not going to get a life-changing message that you get when you listen to his radio.
You'll get a tear in my beer on the countryside. Now, I'm feeling encouraged just by listening to you.
Right.
And, clearly a person of faith. Is there a verse or a concept that you kind of live by or that you would want to share with folks?
Well, look, I've been laid off twice in my career. We've moved from Maine to South Carolina, and 18 months later I got laid off. And I'm looking around going, what am I going to do, right? So there's a verse in Jeremiah that just says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for hope and a future. And I rely on that because when I've gotten laid off work, when my boss says, sorry, we got to let you go, and I'm going, I've got a wife and 2 kids and a dog, by the way.
And a dog.
But what am I going to do? And I know that I can rely on God to help get me through that. I had brain surgery 5 years ago. He got me through that. So I've been through a lot of things, and my family has been through a lot of things, but I know that God has plans for us, that if we stay faithful, those plans are going to work out.
Wow.
That's so
I don't know
good.
about you, but I've got goosebumps. I know our listeners can't see it, but I've got goosebumps, and my goodness.
And you mentioned like the brain surgery and what you had. It reminds me that everybody has a story and a struggle And you found that comfort in your faith, and also realizing that God is not just walking ahead of you, it sounds like, but walking beside you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how people make it through, honestly, without believing in God. I don't. This world is chaotic, and there's a lot of trouble in this world. And so I'm not sure how I could have gotten through my layoffs and brain surgery and such if I didn't believe that there was a hope, there was a future for me. So, it's my faith has gotten me through a lot of things, and that's why I love being a part of His Radio 92.1, knowing that I'm helping to share that hope with others when they tune into the radio.
Man, that's awesome, man. Well, Joe, listen, man, we appreciate you coming on our podcast today. I think our listeners are going to be, encouraged by what you've said, encouraged by His radio. Obviously, the station number, is it a number? Is that what you call it, a number?
Yeah, the frequency. Yeah.
The frequency.
There you go.
Is 92, the dial.
The dial position.
People dial it, though? I mean,
no.
That's almost like, you just kind of tune it? I don't know. Yeah. 92.1.
If you could only see Paul and Daniel looking at each other in confusion right now.
I'm totally.
What is happening?
I don't know. But 92.1, they can hear it in their car. Mm-hmm. They can hear it in their office. They can listen on the go.
Yeah, we have an app. You can listen to from anywhere. And on that app, we have different stations. There's one that's more of like a Christian rock station that the kids might like. It's got some R&B. We've got a classic His Radio that people that may have listened to Christian music back in the 80s and 90s would like. So
is there a reggae channel?
There's not a reggae channel.
We need to work on the reggae channel.
Working on it. But there are different formats of His Radio that you can listen to when you download the My His Radio app on your phone.
I did not know.
My His Radio.
Yep.
That's what it's called. Okay.
Yep.
My His Radio.
All right.
It's like, is it mine or is it his?
It's his, but it's my his.
It's
okay.
Radio.
Who's on first?
You got me.
So are there other ways people can learn more about His Radio or about you, Joe?
Well, hisradio.com is our website. We have obviously every social media platform there is. We have one too. We'd love for you to listen in. And I come to as many chamber luncheons and get free lunch from Paul whenever I can.
You're welcome.
So anytime you see me, come by and say hi.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks again, man. We really do appreciate you coming on today.
Glad to be here.
This has been the Chapin Neighbors Podcast, where we highlight all that makes our community special. We hope you enjoyed our time together. Please like, subscribe, and share the Chapin Chamber Neighbors Podcast.